What is up, guys? It is Takeover Tuesday. That means we have to reach out to the IWC and see how they are feeling about the state of pro wrestling. Tonight, we are going to figure out what to do with Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 39. And as always, we've got some fun news to talk about. But before we jump right into the show, make sure to hit that like button if you are watching us on YouTube. And if you are listening on Spotify or other podcast networks, feel free to leave us a 5-star review. Quick shout out to this week's Patreon producers: Brandon Ruffin, Jay by Proxy, Muscle Fiend 53, Randall Beatley, OG Ian the Noobs Newberry, and OG It's Zinny. Thank you guys for supporting the show. As we always do, let's start out today's episode with the Ringside Report. So first up, we have some major news coming out of AEW, as it looks like a number of stars' deals with the company are set to expire soon, and there's speculation that WWE may be interested in a few of those names, one particularly being Brian Cage. Now, I'm not so sure that I believe that WWE would be the right fit for a guy like Brian Cage. It just, that strikes me as an odd mix. Number one, I'm not even sure if more wrestlers on the WWE rosters is what the company needs right now. I think that they have enough talent on the roster right now to put out compelling content with just what's existing in the company. What the WWE needs to focus on is not going out and recruiting other talent, not trying to deplete the AEW roster. Let AEW move forward with what they have, and WWE needs to continue selling their ship with what they have. What WWE needs is they need better storytelling. They need better writers. WWE needs to invest. Find yourself, go look at the Marvel MCU. Maybe pluck a couple writers out of there. Go look at what's available in the writing department and pull somebody who can help you create compelling storylines and compelling content. I mean, but Brian Cage isn't the solution. Brian Cage isn't going to help WWE. Signing Brian Cage isn't really going to do anything for your company, right? The guy's got battle scars. He's 38 years old. That doesn't really line up with how your company has kind of operated in the last 10, 15 years. And sure, he's a quality wrestler. He's not bad, but there's tons of rumors of steroids that surround him. There's probably a lot of bad publicity that would come with a signing like that. Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know if he's on steroids or not. It's not for me to guess. I saw the before and after pictures, and he's definitely transformed his body. If he did it on his own, shout out to him. If he didn't, I don't think that's anything WWE wants to get in bed with. But even if you look past all of that, I'm not even sure that he's the quality of wrestler that WWE needs right now. I'm not positive he's the quality of wrestler that WWE tries to find when they go out and look for talent, especially when you talk about the personality department. And that's what I think WWE has to lay into right now is like I said, backstage segments, skits, promos. I feel like Cage is better off sticking around AEW. He will be a more unique character within AEW, whereas if he jumped over to WWE, he's just going to be another one of the guys. He might just, he'll get lost in the sea of monsters. There's a part of me that says Brian Cage comes off in AEW as like mini Braun Strowman. And you have to remember that Brian Cage is 6 feet tall. That's it. So he might come off as a big guy in AEW, but when you get away from the bantamweight division that is AEW, it's painfully obvious how small some of these guys really are. So I don't know. I don't think WWE right now. I just think that, close shop. Stop going out and looking for new established really new established wrestlers. That doesn't sound right, but I know what I mean when I say it. Unless it's somebody you can't live without. Don't go pick middle of the road AEW guys up. It's not going to help the company out. Moving on here to some WWE news. Liv Morgan has achieved a great deal of success in her time with WWE, from being a former WWE SmackDown Women's Champion to a Money in the Bank winner. However, one opportunity she hasn't had yet is to be a cast member on a WWE reality series. She missed out on being on Total Divas before its cancellation, and according to Natalya, Liv remains keen on the idea of appearing on a reality show, especially Total Divas, if it were to return in the future. This is a weird situation to me. As far as WWE goes, I don't understand why WWE isn't plastered all over every channel, every content, social media website, why there isn't more reality style content from WWE, backstory type stuff. And it could be done, like it doesn't take a high budget to shoot this kind of content. It could be done on a low budget way to just provide more content for the WWE network or for YouTube or even for like E or Bravo, those channels that take that. The Bellas did well in that avenue, right? The Total Divas, I think, did well. Maybe it ran its course, but I think it could have survived on the network. I think it gives guys something to introduce their wives and girlfriends into wrestling with. A lot of times your wife or girlfriend isn't into the actual wrestling aspect. And I know for Lauren, it was an easier way to ease her into the content was to show her that it kind of aligned with things that she was already watching. And so I don't understand. It's not hard for WWE to film this kind of content, be it like TikTok episodes or like a short YouTube mini series or whatever, but just a way to introduce backstory that doesn't appear on Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown. It's a way to get more content in front of people, and they started it a little bit. Triple H was doing it, and then he just completely abandoned the idea of like extra content in different places. And the biggest problem for WWE right now is that 99% of the wrestlers in the company, we know nothing about their goals. We know nothing about their backstory. We don't know what their intentions are as far as, what they're trying to accomplish within WWE. And reality TV can solve some of those problems. You don't have to film them in their regular life. Let them play the character that they play on television inside of the reality content. Blur the lines a little bit. Give us their intentions. Give us their backstory. Show us how Liv Morgan has to deal with being Liv Extreme and how that affects her life outside of the ring. Show me the Brawling Brutes and how they go out every night after SmackDown and they get into bar fights in every city because all they want to do is fight. That's a show I'd watch, right? This is why I thought Disney might be an interesting mix for purchasing the WWE, was the outside content that you could create. Show me Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler training so that we can see how dangerous they actually are, right? Against other people. Less wrestling, more backstory, and more reality would be healthy for the WWE product. But here's the problem. The broke-ass IWC has pressured every wrestling company into clocking exactly how many minutes of actual wrestling are on each episode. I mean, there's people on the internet who clock it to the minute. Oh, WWE only featured 12 minutes of wrestling today. You know what? I really don't give a shit as long as the what was on TV was entertaining. But you could use the WWE Network, you could use social media for more than just kind of the cookie cutter content that they put out. Look at what Xavier Woods has done with Up, Up, Down, Down. It reaches sub-audiences. It reaches audiences who might otherwise not be interested in the WWE product. But I believe that there are quite a few people who are introduced to WWE through Xavier Woods and his ties to the video game world, right? Or look at like what Zack Ryder did. And his kind of love for wrestling toys and having an internet show back in the day. Like, that stuff worked and it built an audience and it got him over. And it almost sometimes feels like WWE despises that rather than embraces it. Don't reserve the reality TV shows for just the already established superstars like The Miz, like, Carmella, I guess, is a bad example, but I'm all good with this idea that we're getting Bianca Belair and Montez Ford in a Hulu reality show, But I think it would be even more important to build up like a solid foundation for like Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez and those people, to see them outside of the ring, to see what their intentions are, to see how hard they work. I think there's something that goes into, like, when we see Dana Brooke on TV, all we see is, what she does with the 24/7 championship. And we just see the maybe 10 seconds we get to see her on regular scheduled WWE content. But the problem is that she's working her ass off behind the scenes. And so some kind of docu-series on YouTube. And I know that some of these wrestlers could do this on their own, but it just feels like WWE's equipped to do that kind of thing. On a brighter note, reports are that Tony Khan has grown a set of balls and figured out a way to get Mark Briscoe on Dynamite this week so he can properly honor his brother. I'm not going to say that this is too little too late, because unfortunately, due to the circumstances, I think every way we can honor fallen wrestlers is going to be a good thing. But here's the truth, right? It took WB, Warner Brothers, a fucking death for them to get their head out of their asses and quit gatekeeping like a fucking woke PC police. Yeah, I don't care what Jay Briscoe said. He apologized for it. And whether Tony Khan went to bat or whether somebody at WB just realized that they were pieces of shits, what's the fucking difference now? Like, this is just WB trying to cover its ass and being afraid of the mob that is the IWC. WB now realizes that this is bullshit. We shouldn't have been gatekeeping like this. And so now we're going to let them on Dynamite. We're going to let one of the Briscoes on Dynamite. It doesn't make sense to me, man. Like, I'm sure, look, WB has saved so many people from heartbreak of having to see the Briscoe brothers on Dynamite, because it was just going to offend. Who are they protecting? Who the fuck is WB? Who are you protecting? I don't get it. And I look, he apologized. He learned from his past. He is the perfect example of somebody who made a mistake and then tried to atone for those mistakes. And look, I am 100% glad that we're getting to, we're going to get the proper send-off and we're going to get the proper respect that the Briscoes are due. But it's like a little bit of me says too little too late, and a little bit of me says that it's a little disingenuous and hypocritical for WB to kind of walk it back. I don't blame Tony Khan. I just don't think it's in Tony Khan's personality to be I don't know the word I'm looking for, but just gritty enough. Like, I don't think he's combative enough to kind of get something done. So I think it had to be somebody at WB who just realized what a stupid rule that was. So I'm glad we get to have the celebration. I just don't like the fucking hypocrisy, right? In other news, we've got more details on the deal that Mercedes Moné signed with New Japan Pro Wrestling. She will be competing in 3 matches for the IWGP Women's Championship. It appears she has signed a short-term contract to leave herself options for the future. Smart. This is smart. This is good business. I was hard on her first show in Japan. I thought that, it was dicey. It was shaky, to say the least. But I'm not going to be critical of the fact that the decisions she's making are smart, right? She's betting on herself, which I always believe in. I believe that's the best thing you can do is bet on yourself. And because the reality is she either comes out of this a huge star or she shits the bed and she'll lose some negotiating power. But either way, she will be fine and survive this. So, it looks like she'll be done with New Japan Pro Wrestling around the end of April, right after WrestleMania, when WWE is in need of new storylines and kind of, revamping and refreshing everything. So every door for Mercedes Moné will be open. It's just at what price will these companies be willing to pay to get her through that door, right? WWE is 100% willing to take her back. I just think that the negotiations will weigh heavily on whether she is tarnished or built up a better reputation with New Japan Pro Wrestling. So that, there's a big variance, I think, of what Sasha will come out of this as far as a negotiation number. I think that AEW would be more likely to take her no matter what. I think that because she would be a big name for the company, that they'll overpay to get Mercedes Moné into AEW, because I think when you start looking at the women's roster in AEW and you add Mercedes Moné and you got Britt Baker and you got Saraya and you got Toni Storm, you're starting to flush out a roster that looks like it could be competitive with what WWE presents on a weekly basis, right? But there's always the option that New Japan Pro Wrestling could extend the deal. If she enjoys herself and it all goes well, there's no reason that they can't extend the deal and give her more time to kind of just live her best life. If I had to make a bet, I'm not a betting man, but if I had to make a bet, she ends up back in WWE before the year's over. I think around SummerSlam is where I'm going to guess, but I think she'll have a pretty decent showing in New Japan Pro Wrestling. I think that the internet wrestling fans will embrace her. I think the casual fans will miss her enough. I think her stock will rise, just if not just a little bit. And it'll be enough for her to come back to WWE claiming victory, claiming that she went off and bettered herself, did it her way, and she could come back in the door claiming to be, kind of more important than she was when she left. Lastly, we've got some news about Mandy Rose here, who, as everybody knows, was recently released from WWE. There's been a lot of speculation about the particular reason why she was let go, but she's finally broken her silence and given an explanation. Fans are rallying behind Mandy after she claims it was the subscription-based model, not the non-PG photos that she was posting, that got her let go from the company. I think that WWE probably didn't take the time to lay out every reason that they were letting her go when they let her go. I think that WWE has to be very strategic in what they say and what they don't say. So I don't think that they're going to lay out the list of every reason they let you go. I think that they're going to give you the one that protects them the most in the public eye, and as far as like any backlash that could come from firing somebody. But I think there were probably a multitude of factors that ultimately, ended the reign of Mandy Rose. I do believe ultimately, though, that the subscription model was the one, it was the straw that broke the camel's back. It was the one that the company had to acknowledge to set precedent. They couldn't allow people to go out and do this subscription-based model thing to make money on the side of what they were doing in WWE. I don't think that WWE loved the idea that Mandy Rose was out rating dudes dinger-dongers. That definitely played into this. It definitely was a factor. And I agree that WWE probably wasn't that upset with the type of pictures, that adult-ish style of content that she was posting, because if you look in 2023, that kind of content is kind of accepted by mass culture, right? That most girls have OnlyFans at this point, so there's not an outcry from advertisers. And in fact, advertisers are a little bit careful about getting into a pissing war with women about, OnlyFans and those kind of things, because it kind of represents women empowerment and women using their sexuality to empower themselves. So I don't think that was WWE's big problem, like some people have tried to claim it was. I think the stuff that bordered a little more like porn type content, like the rating dinger dongers, was a problem. But the pictures, I think WWE ultimately sees that as promotion, right? Because Mandy Rose was ultimately bringing in this is going to date me a little bit, but the Maxim crowd, the Maxim audience, the college, the young male demographic who were coming to see Toxic Attraction, and more importantly, Mandy Rose. And I do believe that where they drew the line was that she wasn't going to profit off of posting pictures. That's where the problem was. And the PR problem from telling her that she couldn't post pictures of herself, it just wasn't worth explaining to Mandy Rose. I mean, WWE has to be careful whether it's right or whether it's wrong. You know, they have to be careful in how they explain these things. And you know, I get the argument that the WWE wrestlers are independent contractors. You can make that argument all day, but that's not the way it's working out right now. And so I'm just spelling it out from WWE's point of view. They invest millions of dollars on creating a brand for every character in the company. Every minute that you are on television has value, not only to the company, but it has intrinsic value to each superstar that is trying to develop the brand that is themselves, right? Every minute Mandy Rose is on TV, she's building the brand that is Mandy Rose. And truth is, you know, whether it's a good thing or not, most people only know and found who Mandy Rose was and found her OnlyFans. It wasn't an OnlyFans, but her OnlyFans type content through WWE, right? Through the notoriety that WWE brought her, not by randomly searching for Amanda Sacamano or whatever her name is, right? If you establish that fame organically, like Logan Paul, the leash is a lot longer on what you can do outside of WWE. But when you have established who you are 100% by what you've done inside of a WWE ring, I think WWE feels a little bit, whether right or wrong, like they own that likeness. And you know, and they are willing to protect it so things don't happen where you go off and take the investment that they've put into you and use it elsewhere. All right, let's roll right into tonight's topic of the day. Tonight, we're going to talk about one of the biggest and most iconic wrestlers of all time, Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's made a huge impact on the industry and is still beloved by most wrestling fans. And, you know, whether you're a fan of WWE or AEW, you're a fan of Stone Cold Steve Austin. It doesn't matter where you go in the world, that's happening. But the question on my mind tonight is, if you're WWE, what do you do with Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 39? Should they bring him back for one more match? And if you do, who are you going to entrust to help the Rattlesnake encore his last year's performance? I really think, for me, there's only 4 options for Stone Cold Steve Austin at this point, and I'll give you a pro and a con for each one. Starting with John Cena, who I do believe is in line for a match with Logan Paul. But firstly, the pros for John Cena is it's a huge draw. I mean, I think it's possibly one of the biggest draws you can put on a card. Both Stone Cold and John Cena are 2 of the biggest recognizable names in all of WWE history. Like, the only other names that go on that list are The Rock, Hulk Hogan, maybe Brock Lesnar. Right? And I'm missing a few, but like those, there's mega names that go on a poster, and when they go, the tickets start flying out the door. And when you put on a poster John Cena and Stone Cold Steve Austin, like, the tickets are gonna, like, man, it will be bananas, right? It would be great for WWE. It would generate a ton of revenue, and it would help boost WWE's popularity, you know, with probably casual audiences. So that's arguments I'd make for it. The argument I would make against it, though, is I don't really want to see, I don't have this hankering to see Austin and Cena go at each other. Because first off, I think they both have to work babyface. They're both so over with the crowd. Neither one is, I don't think Austin at this point in his career can take a heel persona. We know Cena's not going the heel route. So what we would get is 2 or 3 weeks of Cena and Austin just complimenting each other for the entire buildup. There'd be no bad blood. There'd be no animosity. Neither guy's going to work as heel. So it would just be 100% billed and booked as a dream match. And I'm just not a fan. I think there's better opportunities than that. So it leads me to number 2, and that's Brock Lesnar. And this is the one that I believe the odds are the highest that we're going to get Brock Lesnar and Stone Cold. And I'm not mad at that. I think that makes sense. But it's a redemption story, right? The moment Austin, I think, kind of regrets in his career when he walked away. We almost got this match in 2002, and Stone Cold often says that one of the reasons why he walked out of WWE in 2002 was because he was set to lose to Lesnar in a one-off match, and that he had no problem putting Lesnar over. Rather, it was the fact that they didn't give it proper buildup for a match of that caliber. So this kind of feels like the last opportunity to right those wrongs. I don't think Stone Cold has 3 more WrestleManias in him. I don't know that Stone Cold has 1 more WrestleMania in him, but if he does, I think this is the one where you can pull the trigger and right those wrongs. Now, the reason Lesnar shouldn't get a match with Stone Cold, and the only argument I can make here is that I feel like I want Stone Cold to go over in his final match and go out with a W, and it just seems like it might be destiny that Stone Cold finally puts over Brock Lesnar after all of this time. And I think Austin would actually be okay with it. This is the one instance where I think everybody might, settle for Stone Cold losing the match. And I don't love that idea. I don't think that Lesnar needs the victory, and I don't think that Austin needs to go out on a loss. It's not the way I want to remember Stone Cold Steve Austin is losing his final match to Brock Lesnar in a match that happened like 20 years too late. It's not what I want. The third person I could possibly see, and this is the absolute farthest long shot, is for personal and just selfish reasons, is CM Punk. And you never say never, right? That's the one thing I've learned with WWE is you never say never. But this is on here for 100% selfish reasons, because this is the dream match that I always wanted to see. There was something in me when CM Punk was in WWE that I always wanted to see Punk and Stone Cold. I thought that it would have been just absolute magic. And there's a piece of me that honestly believes that if somebody from WWE picked up the phone and called Tony Khan and respectfully asked to borrow CM Punk, that Tony Khan is such a fan of pro wrestling that he would let it happen. I mean, and to his benefit, he would get tons of promotion off of it. WWE won't play ball, but I do believe Tony Khan would. But CM Punk could really lean into the whole martyrer personality. After all of the AEW drama, this is just, it's storybook. It would work so perfectly. Punk could come in, he could main event WrestleMania Night 1, which I don't know if that's enough of a main event for him, but it feels like, closing out the show on Night 1 is still a pretty big deal. There's just a lot of things to like in a Stone Cold CM Punk match. Do either one of them have enough in the gas tank? The reason CM Punk shouldn't is there's just too many moving parts and not enough time and not enough clarity. I don't think if it wasn't already put in motion, I don't think it works. I don't know how you make this happen. And the last name that I have for a dream match at WrestleMania with Stone Cold Steve Austin is LA Knight. Let me tell you why I think LA Knight should get a match with Stone Cold Steve Austin. The promos leading up to WrestleMania would be absolutely ridiculous. LA Knight has shown that he can stand up to somebody like Bray Wyatt, which is an impossible feat, right? It's almost impossible to go blow for blow with Bray Wyatt and not just get completely swallowed. And LA Knight has, every time he's stepped up and he's held his own. So could you imagine Stone Cold Steve Austin and LA Knight cutting promos on each other for 2 weeks they don't need much time. They can make electricity happen in a short amount of time. Austin can work babyface. LA Knight's great at working the heel position, and I think this would work. LA Knight has been criticized for coming off as like a Rock clone. Okay, who's better to have chemistry with Stone Cold Steve Austin than the guy that they call like the Rock Light in a match? Imagine the iconic stunner that LA Knight could sell. Like, he could recreate the way The Rock would sell the Stone Cold Stunner. And LA Knight would stand to gain the most from sharing the ring with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Let's say they main evented Night 1 of WrestleMania. Stone Cold goes over. That's not an issue. But LA Knight could come out of that looking like an absolute superstar. Coming out of Hollywood, having main evented Night 1, you ultimately create an immediate new star. And the only reason that I think that LA Knight shouldn't do it is I just don't think Stone Cold should be a pawn to put LA Knight over. It's best for business, but it's not best for Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I think there's just there's better things for the poster. There's better things for the promotion than LA Knight versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. So honestly, I'd prefer if WrestleMania 38 was the last proper match that Stone Cold Steve Austin ever had. I think that Kevin Owens feels like the most fitting last opponent in the story of Stone Cold Steve Austin. And the match was phenomenal. It was better than it had any right to be. Capped off by the hilarious stunner of Vince McMahon on night 2. That's how I want to remember Stone Cold's wrestling career. I don't care if he comes out and special guest referees. I don't care if he comes out and makes a special appearance. I don't care if he comes out and stuns every person in the ring. I just don't want to see Stone Cold come out and fail. I don't want to remember Stone Cold as like the guy who had one too many last matches. It's just not what I want to see. All right, guys, so I've been toying around with this animation stuff a little bit, and it's something that I'm going to continue to experiment. So tonight I'm going to present a special little cartoon video that I put together just for fun, and it might be ending the shows on Tuesdays from here on out. We'll see how it goes, but I hope you guys enjoy. All right, guys, today we have a special guest, the self-proclaimed leader of the internet wrestling community, Superkick XO Joe. XO, what has been bothering the IWC so much lately?
Well, first and foremost, the absolute lack of representation for women in the recent Raw 30th anniversary episode. How dare they not have enough female wrestling content on the show that's supposed to be celebrating the history of the company?
Oh, okay, so I see. So you guys are lobbying for more representation. I get it. Is it possible, Joe, that they're just saving some of these surprises for the Royal Rumble?
That's not the point. The women deserve as much representation as the men, and it's shameful that the company is not doing enough to showcase their talents.
Well, I mean, so Superkick, some fans might argue that it's not like you guys in the IWC really protect all female wrestlers. You guys, the IWC certainly has a type, and sometimes it feels like you guys just want more female content of a very specific wrestling archetype.
That's just absolutely not true. I care deeply about equal representation and opportunities for women in the industry. The fact that I only complain about the attractive wrestlers like Liv Morgan getting more airtime isn't indicative of anything other than her amazing wrestling talents. I don't like what you're insinuating here.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Joe. I didn't mean to go that far. I'm just poking the bear a little bit. But let's be real. Like, the IWC can get a little too caught up in their own agenda sometimes.
Oh, no. We as the IWC have a duty as the Internet Wrestling Society to make sure that fans like yourself don't go around spreading stupid information, like when you guys run around and say Roman Reigns is actually a good wrestler.
So hold on. Roman Reigns is not a good wrestler?
Well, he's no Kenny Omega or Will Ospreay.
I gotcha. So we're not real fans of wrestling unless we watch 30 hours a week, including AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling.
What else is there really to do?
Spend time with your wife or girlfriend?
I haven't met Alexa Bliss in person yet.
Whoa, okay, cool. That is all the time we have with you this week, Superkick XO Joe. We'll check back in with you next week. Until then, let's head back to the podcast. All right, guys, that's all I've got for you tonight. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for more casual wrestling news and casual wrestling content. If you have any comments for tonight's episode, please let me know what they are. Leave them below the video. And as always, I am the Notorious Nerdy D, and we can ring the final bell.
Step in the ring, if you ready, let's go. Hey, casual wrestling community show. You already know, talking WWE. Keep it rolling and hosted by Notorious Nerdy D. Dope show that you gon' find. Tune in cause it's online. Hit 'em with a figure 4 leg lock, power driver or clothesline. We bringing that heat like the show, but you should